Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to beautiful Chiang Mai. Well, today I want to take you for an interview with one Stephan Turner. He is the founder of an American theater here in Chiang Mai. All right, so welcome back to the channel, and I am sitting here with Stefan. Stefan. And
Very common. Very common mistake.
Well, glad it's not just me. So I came across, did you send me an email maybe a year and a half ago, maybe someone from there?
I most certainly did.
Okay, and we were going to get together, except I think the floods happened then.
Floods happened, things became very difficult for everybody.
Right.
So we couldn't do it.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that we had a chance to circle back around. We're sitting here today because of it. But before we get into what you do here, I love stories about how did a person end up from here. Now, talk about a little bit from where you're from and kind of like your journey getting here.
Well, I was born and raised in Gary, Indiana. And for folks who don't know, Gary, Indiana is famous for the steel industry. The United States Steel used to be the largest steel producer in the United States. And they're also famous for Michael Jackson and the Jackson 5.
Yes.
So that's where I was born. I was raised there, and I lived there until 1983, up until the time that I moved to Chicago to further my education. I'd studied scenic design and stage lighting at Indiana University, and up until the point where I ran out of money and I had to go to work in the steel mills.
Oh, wow.
I worked in the steel mills in Gary, Indiana, and East Chicago, Indiana, and I did that for several years until I finally decided that this was no way to live the rest of my life. And so I went back to school, but this time I went and auditioned at a theater conservatory in Chicago called the Goodman School of Drama, a very well-known, well-respected school that happened to be the same school that my father went to many years before. And so I did that, graduated, spent my 4 years, and I formed another theater company in Chicago called Stage Actors Ensemble of Chicago. And I did that for many, many years. Producing, acting, directing theater, and I was able to save up enough money in order to start traveling.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I had traveled a little bit prior to that, but not as much as I had wanted to. And I always wanted to see the city of Bangkok, Thailand. And so I came.
And what year was that?
This was in right around 2001, 2002. I remember watching the World Trade Center bombing in the morning, which happened to be about 2 or 3 weeks before I came back to Thailand for the second or the third time. So I'd been here previously in 2000, 2001, 2002. Before I decided that I wasn't going back to the United States. And so I came to Thailand, and I saw a lot of cities and towns and provinces in Thailand. And this was before I decided to stay, and then I'd go back and work and then come back again the following year. And I did that for maybe 3-4 years. So I got to see a lot of places, and I met some friends, most notably here in Chiang Mai. And then I went to Cambodia for 2 years. And I taught English in Cambodia at international schools and private schools and colleges in Phnom Penh.
Okay, very familiar.
Yeah, and I did that for 2 years, and up until the point where I decided that, Cambodia is probably not the place for me to visualize being my home for a prolonged period. There was not enough infrastructure, and there were too many things that are dangerous.
I see.
You know, and I have a proclivity, being an adventurous person,
Mm-hmm.
I have a proclivity to fall into those types of situations that might not be in my best interest. And so I came to the point that, you know, it was time to leave,
Mm-hmm.
and since I knew people in Chiang Mai, I decided I would come back to Chiang Mai.
Okay.
And that's why I'm here today, and it's been, I think, maybe 21 years
Oh, wow.
since that time that I landed here and decided that Chiang Mai was going to be my home.
Okay. So let me take you back a little bit back to I think Chicago, where was it following the steps of your father? I mean, where did that theater bug that bit you come from?
Ooh, you know, I want to relate it to my father, but I wasn't raised around my father.
Oh, I see.
During my childhood, you know, around my formative years, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, my brothers and sisters and I would be watching television, and sure enough, there's my dad on the I Love Lucy show, or Carol Burnett, or Sanford and Son, or some old reruns from some other
wow.
films. And so, you know, that was sort of a badge of honor for us, you know, knowing that, oh, you know, that's my dad out there on television, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but I didn't see him that much. And I have to say honestly that I became interested in theater when I went to school at Indiana University.
Okay.
And I didn't really know what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
I just happened to come out on registration day, and I got all of my required courses, but I didn't have a major.
Mm-hmm.
And so somehow or another, I found myself backstage at Theater Northwest. That's the name. That was the name of the theater at Indiana University, Theater Northwest. And so, passing through and looking and being nosy, the technical director of the theater was there passing by and wanted to know, of course, you know, could he help me? What was I doing there? And I said, oh, I don't know. I'm just passing through, or something of that nature. And he says, well, since you're here, why don't you help us do a little painting? Which I did. And, you know, scene painting scenery, nothing complicated,
Okay.
something that anybody could have done.
Mm-hmm.
It just needed another hand to help.
Right.
And so I did it. And after that, the director, his name was Tom Mazer, Thomas C. Mazer, I'll never forget it. He invited me to join the stage crew. He found out that I was going to be going to school, and he said, well, you could earn some money here, work studying, being part of the stage crew.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And so I took my first acting class,
Mm-hmm.
and I took a scenic design class, and now I had my major. It was going to be technical theater.
Okay.
And so, you know, bless Tom, because if it weren't for him, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you. I'm absolutely positively sure that my theater career might have taken me somewhere else had I not just put it by the wayside altogether.
Right.
Because without the skills that I learned in the 2 years, it was meant to be 4 years, without the skills that I learned in those 2 years, I would never have been able to sustain myself outside of teaching English here in Chiang Mai.
Wow.
Because that's what I did
Right.
when I first got here. I taught English.
Right.
And, you know, it just so happened that I was so tired of the English teaching gig that I was ready to leave and go somewhere else.
Mhm.
It just so happened that I saw an ad online or in a newspaper for a school that was looking for a drama teacher who had a background in technical theater.
Wow. What are the chances of that?
It was fate.
Yeah.
It had to be fate, because there's no one else here, now or then,
Yeah.
to my knowledge, that could have come in and did what I did for that school. It just would not have happened. And I could not have sustained myself and my wife on the salary of an English teacher teaching in language schools or teaching in private Thai schools. So that opened up a whole lot of opportunities for me, and it allowed me to pursue the theater because I didn't have to have a part-time job.
Right.
I didn't have to do anything but go teach my theater courses. And I directed plays with my students. And in the evening, my time was my time. And so I was able to pursue the Gate Theater and keep it going all these years because of Tom Mazer at Indiana University in Gary, Indiana.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So you talk about the Gate Theater. Is this something that you started yourself?
Yes, with the help of 2 or 3 other English teachers.
Okay.
Who happened to be here at the time. The first show was called The Dodo Bird, and it was held at AUA Language School. This was 19 years ago. Now, I'm back at AUA because during COVID, we lost our theater.
Okay.
We had a dedicated space that we lost during COVID.
I remember
so
that.
Things are full circle.
But how do you come to a country, when you come to a city, say at Chiang Mai, and say there is an audience here for American theater?
Oh, I didn't know.
Oh, okay.
I didn't.
You're going on faith.
Yes. Well, I was going on faith and the fact that every major city that I've been to in my life has had a theater. And most of them have had an English language theater.
Okay.
But Chiang Mai didn't.
Right.
And so I put my faith in the power of theater, the power of getting people together in a room and telling a story that would spark their imaginations. That in itself was enough for me to say, this is worth a try. Number one, if you have something and no one else has it, then that's a good sign. And I figured that, like the Field of Dreams, if you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
And not much to my surprise, for an obscure little play like The Dodo Bird. Have you ever heard of this play?
I have not, no.
Most people have not.
Okay.
But I chose that play as our first play, not knowing whether there would be an audience for it or not. But I knew that I could make it a very good evening of entertainment. I knew that in my heart, that I had the people. There was only 4 people, and I was in it myself.
Yeah.
And so I know that I had the ability to make it something that people would be interested in. And sure enough, word of mouth got around, and we were scheduled to do one weekend, and the attendance was so good that we brought it back and did it for another weekend, maybe a few weeks later, to the same results. People came, and people enjoyed it, and I met people through that show who became members of the Gate Theater, who have become friends, who will be friends for the rest of my life. Sadly enough to say that I've lost quite a few friends who were with the Gate who have passed away. I've had the opportunity to work with the most stable group of people who are retirees.
Okay.
And of course, retirees, some of us don't have a lot of time left on the clock. Or I should say, we have more years past us than in front of us.
Right.
And so it's to be expected, but it still hurts. It still makes me very sad.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Almost like, well, they become family.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
Yeah. So, just for a point of reference, what would your title be right now? Is it founder slash director slash producer? Or?
I hate to take too much credit for anything. You know, some people would have no problem with it, but I don't like to put myself on Front Street, as it were, because I'm a shy person at nature, and I just don't I don't really like to throw titles around. But if we're going to be specific and factual, I am the founder of the Gate Theater Group in Chiang Mai. I am the artistic director, and right now managing artistic director. I had an artistic director who is no longer with the group, and I've downsized a lot as well. You know, we used to have a committee, advisory board, and all these types of things. But as I say, I've lost a few people due to various situations, and then COVID hit. And once COVID took over, everything stopped.
Right.
People fled Chiang Mai in fear that, you know, this was going to be it. And especially if you're a retiree, that age, you're worried, you know, how bad is this going to be?
Right.
You know, will I be able to get into a hospital that's going to take care of me? Or all of these
Right.
So a lot of people fled, and so now we're downsized quite a bit. You know, I have a couple of people who are associate directors. One of them, Claire Gordon, who will be directing a play this November called The Cage Birds. She's done a couple of shows with us, and she is very good, from the UK.
Okay.
And another person who's been an associate director is Neville Powis. He's from the UK, and he's done some excellent work with us. So, yeah, for now, I just say my name is Stephan Turner. I'm the director of the Gate Theater Group in Chiang Mai. That's sufficient.
I like it. So when people think of theater, theater is broad, very broad. So I'm asking, what kind of shows do you do? Is it musicals? Is it drama? Is it comedy? Is it a combination of a lot of things when you put on a season of performances?
Well, when I look at a season, I primarily look at what's affordable and what I think people will find interest in. To produce a musical in any city, anywhere in the world, is extremely expensive.
That's what I've heard.
You have to pay for the acting royalties, you have to pay for the rights to the music, and you need musicians if it's going to be a true musical. Or you could do it with background vocals, but it's still going to be very expensive.
Right.
And on top of that, you have to find people who can sing and who can act at the same time.
Right.
And that's quite difficult.
Right.
You know, it's difficult enough to find talent who have a stage presence, who can understand stage directions and follow them, and understand positioning and these types of things. So, you know, it's very difficult sometimes to put a season together in the first place, and you know, there's always a budget. There are always budget concerns, and even here, where I can produce a play for, depending on where you are. If you're in a community theater in the United States, I can produce a play here for 1/3 or less of what it would cost you to do the same thing in the United States.
Wow.
But even here, going by the Thai baht, you know, if you're earning in Thai baht, then it's going to be difficult for you. And it has been. It's extremely difficult. That's one of my major concerns going into this season and to next season, which will be year 20.
Oh, wow.
You know, how are we going to pay for it?
Yeah. Challenges. We talked about the flooding, you know, weather, things of that concern. But I was just thinking while you were talking, this is not New York or Chicago where you have this big group of people to choose from. Hey, come to this place. So is there any other challenges that comes with just keeping this going for 20 years and beyond?
Oh, Fred, there are so many challenges. We don't have enough time to speak about all of them. As I say, one major challenge is always budget and funding. Another major challenge is finding the actors and technicians to assist on a play production. The numbers of people who are interested in actually being on stage and being in a play or a production far outnumber those who have the talent and temperament to do it. Now, unfortunately, sometimes I have to use some of these people because they are the ones that showed up, and they are the ones who demonstrate that they have some commitment. And so, in order to help with that, I also run a stage acting workshop at least once a year. And during this time, I get people who have worked with me to fill out the numbers, and I try to encourage new people to get involved. And then we spend workshop time learning about stage direction, vocal projection, areas of the stage, and how to build a character, these types of things. And it is my hope always that now that you've had this experience, you're going to want to come and use that experience with the Gate Theater Group.
Right.
Some do, but some, well, they understand the time commitment, and it's not actually something that's going to be fun all the time.
Right.
You know, once they understand these things and that everyone is expected to adhere to the basic rules of theater, which is number one, if you're on time, you're late.
Right.
And this is one of my major sticking points. People who can't arrive on time. And I still have to work with them because they are the people who can. You know, so sometimes the results are not quite what I would like them to be. Unfortunately, mediocrity. We live in a world where mediocrity is many times rewarded. But I know mediocrity, and I know mediocrity when I see it, and I don't need to be told about it. But I know when we hit the target. Right. And oftentimes we do hit the target, and it's something that I feel very proud of. It's funny how the disappointments always stay in your mind more than the moments that make you proud. Right. So I can think of 100 disappointments right now, but I can only think of a handful of the pleasures that I've had and the successes.
Well, I tell you, to be coming on year 20, this is year 20, something has to be going right, so.
They say God looks out for the fools. And it certainly looked out for me, and not only in the theater, but in life, where I was truly foolish, and I admit it.
No, we've all been there, I can say that. Can you, a lot of times we as an audience, we see the finished product, and for a couple hours we sit there, we enjoy it. Can you give me just an outline from start to finish? So say you're going to do a play that's going to open in November. When would you start, and how much dedicated time for auditioning, for just, I don't know, as far as practice, is that 2 nights a week, 3 nights a week, 5 nights a week? I mean, how intense is this just to be able to put on that performance in November?
Well, in order to put on a performance in November, I have to start thinking about it in January.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I have to start thinking about it in January. Because, as I say, oftentimes I don't know where I'm going to get the cast. And so if I start as early as 11 months out, this gives me the opportunity to see if I know people who can do this, if I can find people who can do this. For the most part, I'll stick to plays with small casts that happen in one location. Or it's easy, a play that's relatively easy to portray many different locations and still have the audience suspend their disbelief enough to follow you through that process. But once I have a cast, I give myself at least 8 weeks. Because unlike in the United States, if I cast a show, I expect to rehearse it 6 weeks. 6 weeks minimum, very often no more than 6 weeks. But in that situation, we're working 4 nights a week. 4 nights a week and 1 weekend day.
Right.
And we'll spend 3 hours in rehearsal. But I realize that that's not something that I can ask inexperienced actors to do, because they want to understand that.
Right.
The level of commitment would scare them away immediately.
Yeah.
And so I try to hold it to 3 nights a week.
Okay.
2 or 3 nights a week. 2 hours per session, depending on the numbers and the cast. And we'll rehearse for 8 weeks. 8 weeks minimum. I don't want to give myself any less than 8 weeks, because too many things can happen. People realize it's not for them. People have work commitments. People get sick. Any situation that you can name that will keep a person out of a show, I've seen it. So those things happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll work for 8 weeks, and we'll meet 2 or 3 nights a week, and then during the performance week, we meet every day, every evening. Because during that week, of course, we have technical rehearsals where we try to get the lighting and the sound right. And then we have a dress rehearsal where everybody's in costume and we get to see what the show looks like.
Right.
And then we open. We usually run Thursday, Friday, Saturday, because in our present location we can't do Sundays. We're right on Walking Street.
Okay.
And the AUA auditorium opens onto Walking Street.
Okay.
And so we would never be able to do a show in the evening.
Right.
We just can't do it.
Okay. And I'll put a link to that, the location where that's going to
Yes.
everything take place. I won't even get into the weeds as far as you having understudies. You know what I'm saying? That's a whole other conversation. But
That's not something that I have the luxury
Yeah.
of working with, because we're only doing 3 nights a week.
Right.
And an understudy would need to learn those lines and then run the possibility of never being in a show.
Yeah.
In the United States, I would provide an opportunity for understudies to perform, but I don't have the luxury here.
Right. What does your audience look like? Is it tourists, expats, locals, all of the above? Or?
All of the above, with locals being the least. Our target audience are expats who speak English, tourists who are coming through, especially in the high season,
Right.
which is after Songkran is the low season. Going back into around September starts the high season, and that's when we generally start up. So tourists who are in the city visiting, and Thai who have a level of English that will allow them to participate or either understand.
Right.
We're open to everybody.
I see. So getting into my last couple of questions, what would you say to someone who maybe has never been to a theater performance before, and why should they come see a play, see what it's all about? What is it about the magic of a theater show?
Well, I think I would say that you're very lucky you met me, because there aren't any other locations in northern Chiang Mai, I've checked, where you can go and see an English language theatrical production. The Gate Theater Group was the first English language theater in northern Thailand. I'd also say that you're in for quite an experience, because the theater, the world of theater and dramatic arts has something for everybody. And it's not the same play every night.
Right.
It can be the same play, but it's not actually the same play every night, because the performance that you're coming to see requires an audience.
Mm-hmm.
We don't exist without an audience. And each audience that walks through that door to see you, they bring something to that performance. It's very much akin to a participation sport, where your favorite team, you might go to see your favorite team, and it's a nail biter, and everybody's on the edge of their seats, and you're going back and forth and back and forth, and the cheers and the boos and all of that affect those players on the field or on the court or wherever. They hear that, and especially in theater and in drama.
Right.
When you come to see a show, the audience, we aren't going to break the fourth wall, but we know you are there, and we are feeding off of your emotion.
Right.
And each night, a different audience brings with them a different feeling about what they're seeing. And so, theater done well by trained artists or just very talented actors, it ceases to be play acting.
Mm-hmm.
Once the audience is in and they are involved, and as I say, if the actors are talented enough, it ceases to be play acting and it becomes an event. It becomes a real event that's happening right now. And through the suspension of disbelief, you are in the show. You are there. You are watching it, and it becomes part of your psyche, and that's what makes the theater different from any other art form. That participation element, the immediacy of it, and then it's gone.
Well, I agree with you 100%. And years and years ago, I was a part of theater. And then just recently, about a week ago, I went to a reading here. And I will tell you, ladies and gentlemen, if you look at a movie and it draws some kind of emotions from you, imagine being in the same room where the chemicals that are given off from the actors, all of that. I mean, I was on, just listening to the reading, I was on an emotional roller coaster of just sadness and anger, and it just triggered all these things, and that's what a show's supposed to do. So I'm personally looking forward to seeing that particular performance later on this year. And if you have never seen a play, please take the time to do it. If you're here in the Chiang Mai area, and look up the schedule for the Gate Theater and see what they have to offer. Before we go, is there anything that I missed that you want to share? Or?
Well, I think I've talked quite a bit. You're going to have to do some cutting, I think. No, I would just say that the Gate Theater Group of Chiang Mai offers a unique opportunity to venture into the world of theater arts in Chiang Mai, Thailand. We have, over the years, we have become a cultural representation of many different parts of the world through the people who participate with us. And we would like for you to come out and see a show. You can read about us on TripAdvisor, or you can actually go to our website. Shall I give the website?
You can give the website, and also put a link for it in the description as well.
Well, we're at the gate-theater.com, and that's where you can find our website.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your time.
You're very welcome.
I greatly appreciate it, and I hope you enjoyed this interview, folks. And even more so, when you come here to visit, I talk to a lot of you, and you think about Chiang Mai, you think about the elephant sanctuaries, the temples, things of that nature, which is amazing. But take the time to sit and take in a great show, and I look forward to seeing you there. Take care.